What's going on, people? Welcome back to AFTV. Welcome back to another AFTV fan zone. I start the show every way the same way. You can join us in this conversation today by downloading the AFTV Plus app on iOS or on Android. Join us, join the conversation. Today's conversation is going to be heavily around, are Arsenal paying the price for playing fair? Very simple. Would you have wanted us to cheat back in the day? We can go to many examples. Obviously, this conversation has been brought up by the fact that Everton got 10-point deduction for, their financial fair play, the secrets, the lies and all of that, and hiding money and whatnot. We're going to go through some other clubs that probably, they have done the same. Obviously, some are being investigated still. City got 115, 110 counts still to be investigated. Teams like Chelsea, the Roman Abramovich era, and all the kind of secrecies there. Should they be fined? Should they be punished? We're going to open up the whole conversation to you guys, have a conversation about it, and I've got a few questions for you once you come on and join the call at any point in this live. But I want to give the full picture first. I'm joined by Turkish. Turkish, how are we in today's conversation? How are you actually first before doing today's conversation?
All good, man. Been a bit ill, but we're back.
Been a bit. Do you know what? I think a lot of
everyone's getting
suffering. But it's good to see you here. Because even when we was ill, we're still doing these and we was getting by. But glad to see that you're recovering and you're with me on this live today. I do want to kind of go through just full context for the conversation, so the people that are listening and watching or deciding whether they want to jump on and have the conversation with us, what they're getting into. Man City. Let's go straight to Man City first. They brought a lot of our players in the era where you've questioned a lot of the players wanted to leave because they wanted to elevate and win stuff and push the club forward, but we held back on that with the managers, or whether it's the managers protecting the club or whatnot. I think if we go to the Wenger era, I remember him saying, balancing the books was fair. I've actually got one of his quotes. You have to always manage the club with the financial potential that you have and respect the financial constraints you have. I did every year, he said, sell players. We had to pay the stadium back at the time. We needed to be in the top four, but we also needed to pay the mortgage back. So a lot of it, obviously, he was trying to repay the stadium, which was obviously a big amount of money, so we had to sell a lot of our best players. I remember the training ground being built off the back of Thierry Henry's sale.
So they say. Well, Tottenham built a stadium and they kept on hold of Harry Kane through multiple 100 million bids. So, we've seen evidence since that, a club can build a new stadium and still manage to remain somewhat ambitious by keeping hold of their best players. Yeah, I know it's a different time. People might argue, this was 15 years ago. Tottenham's was a few years ago, but there is evidence there that you don't have to sell your best players in order to pay off the stadium. But
I don't know this, and I'm sorry, I don't know if there's debt with Tottenham. I know most clubs have debt, but I know Arsenal's at that time, that's what Wenger was pushing for, to be a debt-free, and we maintain that. Our finances were always good. Even Usmanov in 2013 said his aims and ambitions was to be a debt-free club and have a war chest for top signings and produce young talent. That was back in 2013. So it always seems like we was trying to toe the line and make sure we're doing the right thing. I know Arsene Wenger always talks about being a classy club and doing things right as well. That's all the morals of the club as well. So, but other financial takeovers came in for other clubs, the Chelsea era, Roman Abramovich era, Man City, and they kind of just effed it up, really. But and I'm going to ask the people that come on, would you want to be the team that are now being investigated? Do you care about that? Would you still have those moments, even though, when the fans say you bought it all, would you care about that? Or would you rather be how we are and do it the right way? And I think that is kind of the first gleaming question that I want to speak to the fans about, you to think about as well. But I do want to run through some of the players that we sold from Arsenal to Man City and around that time. So Bakary Sagna, he went on a free, to be fair, back in 2014, after 7 years at the club. Obviously, he's recognised as a right back, really good. I liked Sagna. I like Bakary Sagna. I actually got to interview him as well not so long ago when we did the game for Ukraine as well. But he left and was kind of not the start, but he was one of those players that, he left and went to Man City. It was a free, so I can't really look too much on it, but that's one of the players. Samir Nasri, I loved him. I'll be real. Big fan.
Yeah, he was cold.
I loved him. The sort of player I like to watch, the technical ability. He was actually compared to Zinedine Zidane in the early years. I know that's madness. That's what was on the paper. That was in the media.
Listen, he can be compared to Zinedine Zidane as long as he's not compared to Zinedine Zidane. I'm all right with that. I don't know who Zidane is, but yeah.
Zidane, they compared it back. That's what people said. Obviously, I don't agree with that, but he was. I'm trying to give you context of how good of a player he was. I loved watching him. He departed in 2011 for 25 million. Around that time, it's a lot of money as well. So, but again, that was the Man City when they started, the takeover. They had a lot of money. They started buying the best of the best to try and, they did the right thing in the end of having their takeover. Gael Clichy in the same year, 2011, 7 million as well. I liked him as well. I think he was up there, but he wanted to play. He wanted to win titles as well. That was his reason why he wanted to win the biggest titles. Adebayor, don't want to say too much about him. 2009, he left 25 million. And then Kolo Touré in 2009 as well for 15 million. But yeah, these were big money. This is big money, and that's kind of where it started. They started buying the big best players. They went on their run. They started winning titles. Obviously, Pep obviously came as well to them later on down the line as well, after Mancini and all that. But They did it, but we all say they bought it all. They're now being investigated, obviously, for 15 charges as well for City. For you, right? And I'm going to ask everyone this as well. Would you take, their punishment would be to lose, say, last year's title, all their titles, but last year's title we're going to look at because it's the year we could have won it. For then, I know this is Chelsea, but Tottenham could have won it in 2016, 17. Would you have?
I'm not taking any of them. I mean, even if Man City and Chelsea both get charged, and the charges relate to years they won Premier League titles or they won whatever it is, Champions League and FA, whatever they've won. If the charges fall into those seasons and they get stripped of it, it doesn't mean, in my opinion, that the next person in the league gets it. Because winning the Premier League is a feeling. You have to live it.
Facts.
If you haven't lived it, you can't give me a Premier League title from last season, even if it was just a few months ago, and say, actually, City have been disqualified, you've won the title. No, because I didn't live it.
You didn't have the feeling.
I didn't get to that stage where it's like, if we win this game, we win the Premier League title. We finish top first. In hindsight, it doesn't feel the same. So, I see a lot of fans clamoring for, we'll get this title, or some, Tottenham fans, we'll get this. Forget all of that. If they get stripped of the titles, they get stripped, but I don't see the next person in line, taking that title as their own. I don't think that's right.
It's weird, isn't it? Because it's like the stats. For me, I don't know why I've got this is in my head. It's like the stats versus the eye test. It's like, you'd have the title statistically, but again, it's what you said. It's the feeling. It's you want to be. I was there when we won it. It was cheated, but we weren't there. We didn't get to enjoy it and really, go on a proper parade, didn't get to live it and have the proper feeling. So I get that feeling as well, and I would go against. It made me. I thought about it long in the office yesterday. Would I accept that the last year's Premier League for then Spurs obviously have won theirs over Chelsea in 2016-17? But I wouldn't want that.
Likewise, let's just say, let's look at the opposite side of the argument. Let's just say random. It's not going to happen, but we're under investigation. 2004. 2003-4. All of a sudden it comes out we've done something wrong. We're stripped of that title. Do you think I lived that? I don't care what these men say.
You got to take back all your cusses, all those kids you
I will always maintain that we won that league title. So it's all good and cute to feel like, if Man City gets stripped, that really it was ours, or really it was Tottenham's that season that they finished, or whoever it was over the years. The reality is, if you don't live it, if you don't feel it, then same way with Man City fans, if they get stripped of their titles, they live through it. They wouldn't. Would they change their?
They wouldn't change their argument. I don't feel like. I feel like, okay, cool. They would say statistically, cool, you've got it, but we were the best team. I like you just said there, if you put the shoe on the other foot, would I change? No, that invincible era. What am I going to take back? We were there. I know that team was great, regardless. If we hypothetically did get investigated and something come up, it's not changing for me. So I get that. So that's a very good way to look at it. That's a very good way to look at it.
100%. And someone, Saka's older brother here says, forget charity titles, it will just be voided. And that's my thing, it should just be voided. But the Premier League have left themselves in a situation now where, let's just say Man City, let's forget Chelsea for a sec, because if we include Chelsea, it's even more of a problem.
It's mad.
But Man City, let's just say they get stripped of their titles in the last 10 years. Yeah. When you look back at the list of Premier League winners, supposed best league in the world, most competitive, you can't have 7 seasons of void in the list of title winners. That doesn't look good on the league either. They've left it far too long. That's why, in my opinion, that they ain't going to be stripped of titles. They might get a points deduction, and they might get a charge now, in terms of they might get relegated, they might get a 20, 30, 40 point deduction, whatever. But I don't think they're going to be looking back and stripping any titles or anything like that.
Okay, so you've pushed me to my question I would ask the callers when they come on. Would you prefer, again, it's avoided last year for Man City and we technically win the league, or a heavy points deduction this season? And I want to ask.
This season.
Swear, yeah.
I forgot about last season. We didn't win anything. It was nice, but we didn't win anything.
It was nice.
You know the seasons I remember? 97, 98.
Yeah, of course.
01, 02. Yeah. 03, 04. Yeah. I even remember, seasons in between there where 02, 03, the FA Cup. I mean, when you win stuff, they're much more memorable. I mean, the 2014 FA Cup. Was memorable because it was our first trophy in such a long time, and we had just signed Ozil and it looked like we was turning the corner. That was more memorable for me than last season. Last season was nice, it was
serious.
Cute. It was cute. But we need to kick on from there and win something. Do you get it? Like, I'm not gonna, but in 10 years, do you think I'm gonna talk to my son and say,
no, I know you've done this to me.
That 22-23 season, we was close, son. I ain't gonna talk to him about that. He might turn and say, Dad, what do you mean close? Who won it?
I hear you, but it might have been the catalyst. It might be a turning point, no. So you might go back to it and say, depends what happens this season and the following season, but you might go back to your son and be like, but this is the year Arteta really kicked on and things changed. Everything changed, the dynamic, the fact, it just felt like we was back.
It could be the platform for success. And if we do win this year and we win next year and we start winning stuff, then 22-23 becomes memorable because it was the platform for our another great Arsenal era. But it needs to be another great era for that season to really mean something. It can't just be a season where, look, Tottenham finished second. What did they do after that?
Yeah,
for them, it's memorable because they've never won the league. So second to them is that, whoa, we was nearly dead. They might tell their kids about that. But I've seen my club win leagues, bro.
I hear you.
I'm not an 18-year-old that hasn't seen Arsenal. I've seen us win leagues. So last season's, it was nice. It was unlucky at the end. Well, I wouldn't say unlucky. It was frustrating at the end. But we move, and I'm into this season now. So if there's a choice for me on what City, it wouldn't be void last season. It would be deduct them something this season.
Interesting. Okay.
Because then if you deduct City point, let's say they get deducted 30
they're going to get
points.
more than 10 because Everton got 10.
Let's triple it. Let's say 30.
Okay.
They're not winning the league, basically. They're not winning the league.
Yeah, no
so
way.
The league is still entertaining because it looks like Arsenal, Liverpool will be up there. Tottenham might have a chance now. I'll probably leave it at that because Man United and Chelsea are dead, and even with a 30-point deduction for City, they ain't doing shit. And Aston Villa and Brighton and these, man, I don't think they've got what it takes to even win a title if City are not in it. But if City were to be eliminated from this season, then you've got Arsenal, Liverpool, and potentially a Tottenham side.
Well, let's do this then, because as much as I've got questions to ask you and really divulge, let's paint a picture. So that happens, boom. Because I'll be honest, football for me right now, because I love the sport, but I'm not loving just everything at the moment. The football's just, it's tarnished for me at the moment. I'm trying to regain it, all the love for it, but just the ways everything is at the moment. But would that make the Premier League for you better? Just more interesting for the fact that it opens up then really for, because I don't know if it is a given that City are going to win it this year, but I think a lot of people, even to this day, even me, I predicted City before the season started they'll win it this year. I'm still at the same spot because they might go on a late run. They're still working things out. If they were to do 30 points, would you prefer the Premier League this year? Do you think it'll make it better? Because will City really try and push to get back, or will they drop off and focus more on cup? What would the landscape be for you if you saw that happen? Better?
Look, I've always said once Pep goes, this league should be a lot more entertaining in the competitive aspect.
I agree with that.
If they get relegated, the same thing happens because they're not in the league. City have made this league a farmers' league. Essentially, when you look at other leagues like Germany and France, you expect PSG to win it, you expect Bayern Munich to win it. In England, you expect Man City to win it. We've come to that stage now where, a lot of people are arguing about second more so than arguing because they really believe they can finish first.
Yeah.
I think Man City are still favourites for this season until we know if these charges are even going to be, relatable to this season or not. We don't know yet.
Could be a long process.
It could be next season that it finalises, or the season after that, God knows. And, we're hoping something happens, but something might not happen. So we can't really, put our eggs in that basket and say, listen, City are going to get deducted points. So we've got a massive chance. City are the team. They are him. They are him. City are him.
Right, so, look at you doing the new generation
I
team.
might as well, man. There's a lot of youngers in the chat. So for me, it's, if Pep goes, I think the league gets more entertaining. If Man City get dock points or get relegated, I think the league becomes more entertaining because it becomes more competitive. it becomes more competitive. Man City have
I actually don't want
dominated.
I don't want Man City to get relegated. I would rather them be. I'd rather the 30. I'd rather that. I think that keeps the league. I want them still in the Premier League. I don't know what. Maybe I might be big as everyone else here, and it'd be interesting if there could be a poll in the chat or someone could ask this: is would you prefer them to be relegated, or I want dock points? I want them still in the league because, yes, you're right. When Pep goes, I think City changes and it does open up more for people. But I do like having that say of the Premier League is the best league in the world and it's the most competitive. And I do like watching, not this season, I haven't really enjoyed watching, but I do like watching City. I do like watching Kevin De Bruyne. I do watch that. I wouldn't like to see them out the league, but I might be on my own here. Docked points, 100%. Relegated, I don't know.
I don't care. I don't care. Docked in points for 3 seasons in a row, relegate them. I don't really care, to be honest. Obviously, Pep in the league's a massive bonus. It's a plus. He's one of the greatest of all time.
It's sick to see, bro, to watch how he breaks
it's not
things.
sick to see them win every single season. That's not sick.
Yeah, that's true.
But at the same time, we can't forget that as much as they're under, the investigation and they have these charges, there's also, Man City didn't really go in the transfer window in terms of a single player or, overspending until Grealish. They had a very good record in terms of not spending too much on a player. And if a team wants over the odds for the player, they'll pull out. There's many examples of that. It's only when Grealish comes in that they're like, whoa, they've, broken their transfer, record. And then Haaland comes in and we hear about all the wages and add-ons.
Yeah, crazy.
So it's only recently I look at them and think, there might be something going on.
Yeah,
but
taking a piss now.
Essentially, then you couple when that happened up with their success in previous seasons, and maybe their success has led to being able to spend 100 on Grealish and being able to give Haaland what he's on at the moment. So even these charges, it's better for me not to expect anything and be happily surprised than me to expect they're going to get deducted something and be bitterly disappointed. That's just how I see it.
You're quite I want to say pessimist in the sense of people not getting the justice they deserve. Do you think anything will do you think they will get done, Man City? And I want to say Chelsea as well, but only because they started with Everton, which I don't have full context on why, but they started with Everton. I think that's kind of like this is showing them like it's going to happen, things are in place, things are happening. Do you think City will be punished correctly or rightly so?
No.
Genuine?
No, they might be punished. I'm not going to say they're not going to be punished. They might be punished, but I don't think it's going to be anything like what people assume or suggest, even off the back of that Everton one. And I like how Everton added that last sentence into their report on it when they said Everton will be taking, having a close look at, ongoing investigations with other clubs in the league to hope that, consistency is maintained. That's essentially putting it on them for Man City and potentially Chelsea too. But the Premier League, they... As a brand, they probably lose out having, City in the Championship or Chelsea in the Championship. And I think for the Premier League, it's money over everything. So as much as the Premier League might be looking at Man City and charging them, Premier League, I know, they're guilty themselves of, fucking the game up because of money.
Agreed.
So I don't really think we're gonna get what we all hope for with Man City or with Chelsea. That's why I'll wait for it to come. And I'll wait for it to go, whatever happens. Interesting.
It's sad. It's a little bit sad because I don't know if I do agree. I think there will be a punishment. I think they're under such high pressure now and scrutiny that they can't do that to Everton and not do something to City and Chelsea. You're right in what you said about their big clubs. Them out of the league will definitely be worse off for the league. And I don't see them doing that because money is definitely their be all and end all when it comes to the Premier League, and 100%. So it'll be interesting. I think they will get a harsh punishment. I hope they do. I don't know when it will be. We spoke about this. We don't know the time scale, but or the time frame of it. But this is the kind of conversation, and it's interesting to hear what Arsenal fans think. Would you rather be the club that cheated or did these, spent outrageously and got the trophies?
I've said I don't mind bending the rules. Listen, it's all good and well now coming out 115 charges with City. I'd ask the people at the Premier League, why didn't you stop it at 20 charges 5 years ago? Yeah. Why didn't you look at it the first 10 years of Man City or Chelsea's inception into this top table with their new owners? Why didn't you look at it then? When do you think they knew? Do you think they knew? They must have known something. Something.
Going on.
That's why at the time I was like, Kroenke, bend the rules as well. Well, why are we the only ones that are seemingly, flying straight and narrow? We got Wenger before FFP even comes out say, well, FFP is coming, let's tighten the purse strings. Whereas every other team is saying FFP is coming, let's splash now before we're limited. So Arsenal's approach was, and they can lean back and say morals and that.
That's what it was. That's what I think. That's
it's not Arsenal morals to save money, bro. They tricked the whole. They made that seem like it was classy and our morals were to save money. It wasn't. That was just Wenger's stubbornness. He wanted to win without looking like one of these managers that overspend. And in the end, it cost him at the end.
It did. But is that the right way to go about it? Now, is it the right way to go about things, though? Because you're right about the morals thing, just briefly. I'm trying to counter you, but I'm just trying to think, even when the Super League come up, where was the morals then?
We've got callers as well, so they might have something to say.
Okay, cool. We're going to get to the callers as well. Let's go into it.
Let's get into it. Let's see what they got to say. 5-6 callers waiting. Who we got first? Michael,
he's going to be interested in the conversation.
Back in the US, Mike?
Yep, back. Good to see you guys.
Come on, man. It was good to meet you. Recently, we met Mike, people, just in case you didn't know.
Did you?
Yeah, he was here the other day. Friday.
Yeah.
Bro, I parked up the car. I get out of the car and I see Mr. Shakespeare himself.
Where was I? Wait.
He was off Friday.
Was I?
Yeah, he was probably body doubling Rashford or something.
I probably was. I'll be real. I was off Friday. Michael, guys, sorry I missed you, but go on.
Yeah, I don't think it's about morality. I think a lot of things that we're proud of about the club come from things that, like, wait, I'm getting feedback here. Can production deal with that? Yeah, okay. You hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. I think a lot of the things that we're proud of in the club are indirect results of the way that the club is dealing with financial fair play. The fact that we have a stronger academy, the fact that, like, many of our best players are young players that we didn't just buy from somewhere else. I also think that Premier League fans, I'm still getting feedback on the audio.
We can hear you all good and well, though.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I think Premier League fans have to look at financial fair play the same way that people look at doping in cycling. You know, that it really is like having teams on steroids. And we've got to understand that FFP is like the one thing that keeps the Premier League from turning into the Super League, that you just have this oligarchy of rich clubs that buy up all the good players.
Mike,
guys, I'm getting too much feedback on the. I can barely hear myself.
Okay, we can hear you clearly.
Okay, I got it now. It's quiet now. Okay,
Thank you, productions.
That, like, FFP is the only thing that keeps the Premier League from turning into like the Saudi League. That if we oppose the Super League because we want to have like fair competition and we don't just want to have a few super rich clubs dominating everything, then like we've got to look at the intentional violations of FFP as really, really serious charges. And I think we're so used to admiring Man City that we see a great team and we don't see it the way that we would see a beautiful goal that's still scored because they were offside and they committed a red card offense in the build-up. And I think that once everything shakes out from these FFP charges, we may not be stripping Man City of their titles, but we're going to put an asterisk next to each one of those years that Man City, ended up winning the league, because it's not going to be really seen as completely legitimate. And when I look forward, yeah, go ahead.
No, I'm just trying to. You've made some amazing points there. I'm just trying to wrap my brains around. I don't think the Premier League are actually going to go too hard on these players, because they want it to be the best league in the world, on Man City, or on the big clubs. Because I look at when Messi went into Miami and the effect that brings, and then when, I don't know, Beckham went to America and what they've done for the football or soccer over there. It was so key, and I just feel like the Premier League want the best players in it. So the FFP, I feel like they kind of knew things were going on, but they also want the best players in that league. So they're kind of letting things slip. That's why I just don't feel the punishment's going to be as harsh, because they're going to still want the best players in the Premier League. I like what you said about Arsenal. We have young players and we go through the academy and everything, and we're doing it the right way. But I think the Premier League want us to have we do have the best players. Most of the best players in our league, but I think they're going to continue to want to do that. So I think there always will be bending of rules, Michael, which is a problem, I feel.
Well, that's why this stuff against Man City has to be enforced, and it's not going to be enforced if the fans are completely passive about it. we have to look at FFP as the one thing that keeps the Premier League from turning into the Saudis. You know, and that's why we've got to look at what Man City does as like something that really questions the legitimacy of everything they've done up until now.
I hear you.
Obviously, I don't know what's happened to my screen, but hopefully you can still see me. At least you can still hear me. Can you hear me, Mike?
Yeah, I can hear you. I can't see you, but
no worries, even better. FFP. Let's talk about FFP itself first. Yeah.
Yeah.
Is it right?
It's what they're trying to do.
Is it right? I mean,
fair play.
I mean, like, how does a Burnley from where they are now catch up to a Man City if FFP is in place, where it means spending within your own means?
You can't make
because that was initially what the point was of FFP, was to give a level playing field, whether you're a big club or a small club. You can spend what you earn, but already spend what you earn. Hold on, let's not take Man City. Let's say Arsenal, Man United. They're going to make a hell of a lot more money than a Burnley or a West Ham, let's say, yeah? So how is it fair? So if we actually look at FFP, I disagree with FFP entirely, the way it's been implemented. It hasn't been implemented correctly. Really and truly, the rules can be bent in certain ways. If you can avoid certain things. There's been loopholes in the past. Look at Chelsea. That loophole was only closed in January because of what Todd Bowley was doing.
The long contract.
So is FFP right? Before we even argue about whether Man City and Chelsea and other clubs along the way, because apparently we're tight on FFP now. Before we argue about whether these clubs were wrong in bending the rules or cheating, is the rules correct? Are the rules better for football in general?
I think the idea is right. I think what they're trying to do.
The idea
is right.
Salary cap. You see, when I look at the NBA, Mike, you probably know about this better because American sports in general deal with salary cap. A salary cap would have been much better proposal to bring in than just bringing in an FFP and saying you can spend this percentage of your revenue profits on wages. Yeah. Obviously, Arsenal or Man United's revenue profits are going to be bigger than Burnley's or West Ham. So how do they catch up to them? How do they catch up to us with FFP in line? So when Man City's new owners come in, obviously when Roman came in, it wasn't FFP time. When Man City's new owners come in, they've got a hell of a lot of money. Yeah. There's FFP rules saying you can't spend this much, you can't do this, you can't. And they're thinking, hold on, I just bought a club.
Yeah.
What the hell are you telling me what to do with it? And they found ways to go around the system. At the end of the day, I can't really look down on them for that because I don't agree with FFP in the first place.
Yeah, well, you're making a fair point about the way it affects poorer, smaller clubs like Burnley. But what we're talking about with Man City and Chelsea is different. What we're talking about, Man City and Chelsea are like systematic cheating to leverage like the oligarchy of the big money clubs. But
Mike, my example was, let's say tomorrow Burnley gets a new owner and another sheik, whatever it is, another one. And he's the second richest owner in world football. But what's he meant to do to bring Burnley to the top table?
He'll have to bend the rules.
Same way if Arsenal get a brand new owner, whatever.
The Kroenkes are rich, but
but let's say we get a brand new owner that's willing to invest the money. Are we gonna, would rather us invest than look at FFP and say, we've been like, what's the word? We've been kind of programmed to fight for FFP at Arsenal because Wenger fought for it. Some Arsenal fans are programmed to fight for it. It's like, hold on, is FFP right? Has it been implemented in the correct way? Does it give opportunities for lesser clubs or lower down the league clubs to come up to the top table? The way it is, a Burnley following strict FFP rules, even with a new owner that's one of the richest in the world, it'd take 20, 30 years for them to come up if they follow the rules.
But the football you're wanting then, say there's no FFP and all the rich buy the top clubs and they just can buy whoever they want.
What do you think happened? What do you think happened before FFP? How do you think Man United got successful? Arsenal at a point was a money club. Liverpool had money here and there. But we weren't. The greatest clubs. AC Milan,
Arsenal weren't taking
Inter Milan, Real, Barca. These men have all had money over the years.
Real Madrid, yes. But
how comes all of a sudden FFP comes in and now we're worried about? It's only going to be the big clubs that spend with no FFP. No one cared before that. And before that, before FFP, when you look at the Champions League, you had a variety of clubs that can win it. Year in, year out, you had groups with 2 tough teams. Deportivo was sick back in the day. Valencia, Pablo Aimar. You had Italian teams in the
Milan,
Juventus,
Milan,
Inter, and Roma, and AC Milan. So on. Spanish teams, we just mentioned Deportivo, Valencia, let alone Real, Barca. English. Now, when you look at Champions League, it's Man City, Bayern Munich, Real Madrid. What do they all have in common? They're a rich club that spend. So what has FFP actually done for football? What has it done in the last 10 years of its inception?
It's supposed to level the playing field. That's what it's supposed to be level.
The playing field was a lot more level before FFP. It was a lot more level before FFP. There was problems for sure.
100%,
for sure.
100%.
But FFP's come in, and I look at the way football is now, and I look at the top clubs now, and there's far less great top clubs now than there was 20 years ago. Far less.
It's hard because, listen, Michael, sorry, apologies if you're sat here, but it's hard because, again, if you have, rich owners or people just buying players, even for which Michael brought up at the beginning, for academy players, people come through the system, they don't see, unless the manager or there's the club's ethos is, we have to make sure we have a certain amount of academy or young players through, they won't ever break through. I've been in a situation where you've been at a club where they are just buying the best, you'll never get a shot. It's like Chelsea, it's like the Chelsea players. They had a golden generation of academies, but they never had a look into the first team, never got the opportunity until they actually have funny enough had their ban through because of financial fair play. Those youngsters never really had a career. They had to go and find lesser clubs. Their careers were just shot.
So now we care about youngsters so much.
Well, I'm just giving this is the other side of it.
Yeah, but I don't care, bro. I don't care. Well, you said FFP's come in and helped 16-year-olds find a better path.
Listen, it helped a lot of those Chelsea players that year when they had to go through Frank Lampard. They had the ban. They let them break through.
I've been accused of talking too much, so I'm gonna hand it over to Mike to
close.
Give his thoughts.
Right, well, just the last thing is what I see happening if these 150 charges really do stick. Pep's going to resign. He's going to blame everybody else on the club. You're going to have this exodus of players from Man City. And like you're looking at, we're going to start seeing Pep distance himself even from his own accomplishments. Now does he feel his title hang loose about him like a giant's robe upon a dwarfish thief?
Well, we like to end on a nice bit of Shakespeare, so thank you very much, Michael. Thank you.
Mike.
Good to see you, man. Thank you for that.
Before we bring in another caller, I just want to address a few people have said FFP also came in to stop clubs going bankrupt, and I understand that. Can someone tell me how many clubs went bankrupt before FFP?
I don't have the stat for that right now.
You know, who went bankrupt? Because I'm not saying that there wasn't clubs that went bankrupt. There was. I think Leeds were probably a big example of that. You know, they went Champions League semi-final, they had great players, and then bang, done. But we can't act like every year 2-3 teams were going bankrupt because of reckless decisions. So let's bring in something to stop clubs going bankrupt. But it wasn't a big problem like that. If a club decides to fuck themselves, then why are we protecting them?
It's hard because we're looking at the big club. If you look at financial pay, is this at Newcastle United? They're competitive at the moment, and they I'm assuming. Listen, I don't know if they are definitely going by the rules, but what I've seen, they haven't gone crazy with buying stupid wages, stupid amount of fees. They're doing it right, and that's through financial fair play. So I think there's a space where it can live. A lot of your arguments are strong, but it can. I think the idea is right. I think it can live. I think it is the right thing, but again.
If the argument for this coming in, whether it be the Premier League, fans in the chat now, or fans in general, if the argument is a level playing field, we should have took the American model. Because the American model, NBA, NFL, whatever it is, 1 year you might have a Super Bowl winner or an NBA championship winner. 5 years later, that championship winner might be struggling because, you know, draft picks and salary caps and contracts and then it's another era. In basketball and NFL in America, it is a level playing field because every 5 years it's a different collective or it's a different set of, you know, teams challenging for titles, and it's like swings and roundabouts. So if that was the idea, then there should have at least been a look at the American model and say, all right, let's take some of that.
You'd be on board for that if they went to America, because I know there's been a lot of criticism of you know, sport going when. The American owners want in football, they call it soccer, football to be that. They want it to be the American model. But so you wouldn't be if they adopted that, you wouldn't be angry at it. No. Or would you? Because
I mean, we could have taken some good, I'm not saying take the whole model, but there's some good things to take from them for sure.
I agree.
For sure. Who we got next?
Let's get our next caller in. Hello.
Hey, how's it going, guys?
Hello. Sakamas Prime, is that your name? Is that the name? I like that. Sacramus Prime. I like that. Spin-off from Optimus. Okay, I'm assuming you've been listening to the conversation. I know you've been in the green room and that. I just kind of just want to get your initial thoughts because there's a question I want to ask you. Let me get your thoughts.
Okay, yeah, I like what Turkish was talking about. There's a bunch of different things with the FFP about how teams, it's really uneven spending. The top teams, the Big Six, and even Villa and Brighton, some of those have been making bigger purchases, and those smaller clubs just can't, spend the money that the big clubs can. So I'm from Pennsylvania in the U.S., and I've been following soccer only for 2 years now, and got my SEPA hat, but SEPA Gooners represent.
Big up. Come on. Big up.
Yeah, thanks. But yeah, so like in the NBA, there is a salary cap. However, only 4 teams have won like 2/3 of the championships in the past 60 years. The Lakers, the Celtics, the Spurs, and the Bulls. So even with the salary cap, there are issues. What the salary cap really does is bring an even playing field. So the least competitive teams are still somewhat competitive because they can still sign contracts. The NBA does something differently also with maximum contracts. So not only do they have a salary cap, but they also have a maximum amount of money that a specific player can make a contract for. So NBA rosters are smaller than football teams.
Yeah.
So there's definitely got to be some things that you got to do around with that. But like, I don't think there's going to be one option that fits all. Mm-hmm. I think having the unlimited money in soccer is not a good thing because FFP is useless if people can just skirt the rules anyway. That's how I feel about it. So at least with the salary cap and maximum contracts and stuff, you can have at least some sort of fair play.
Yep.
More fair play than just saying we're not going to spend, or you're not allowed to spend X amount of money within your means, whatever that means, because the means for a club like Arsenal or Man City is completely different than the means of a club like Leeds or Luton. Like those much smaller clubs, they can't, even though they're in the same league, Premier League, they're not even on the same level of competitiveness. And like it's easier to see that with the pyramid system, but like in the NBA, or the NFL, with having those set clubs each year in and year out, it's a little bit different. So there's really no perfect answer, should I say.
Going back to your first point, because you are right. Like if you look I haven't checked statistically, but I guess 50, 60 years, you still get consistent winners across that period. But I think that's where heritage comes in, like the Lakers and Chicago Bulls and other teams where, history dictates where players want to go. But when I was growing up, like, let's say the late 90s, early 2000s, I remember Pacers and Pistons going at it. Pistons had a little era. San Antonio Spurs had a little era. Golden State had an era.
Spurs are a good team.
Celtics, Phoenix Suns, all in the last 15 years have had an era of winning championship. And this is just off the top of my head because I went a little period without watching basketball. So that's 5 teams that you might not, San Antonio Spurs, Pistons, Celtics, Phoenix Suns and Golden State. There's not much heritage there like a Lakers or a Bulls, but they was all at the top competing.
Leicester won the league.
It's a bit better of a dice roll each year.
That's all I've got.
Sorry.
Yeah, it's a bit better of a dice roll each year for those smaller clubs to be able to be competitive with a salary cap and like minimum contracts and stuff like that the NBA does compared to just pay however much you want within your means like it is in football.
Yeah, let me ask you before we just go to our next caller just quickly. Would you as a fan then, are you taking pride of how Arsenal have moved in the past decade or two? Is in the sense of classy and
for sure.
Yeah. So you wouldn't?
I'm pretty new. So like last year was my first year really watching Arsenal, and so I kind of had a very high bar. But I've been watching other sports for 25 years. So like I know how hard it is to win a championship. Yeah. And I think if we were told in the beginning of this year that we'd have 45 minutes of Jury and Timber, 3 matches of Thomas Partey, and half a dozen matches of Gabriel Jesus, and we'd be 1 point off City with a win against them, I think a lot of people would be happy with that.
So you wouldn't want an Arsenal that has an owner that could have bought spent crazy money, bent the rules a little bit. For last season, we might have won the league because we have that extra push by those extra players that we paid. We bent the rules, and you wouldn't want to be that.
Maybe, but I like, the good guys, and that's one reason why I kind of levitated to Arsenal.
See, Turkish,
some of the good guys.
Bring some fans.
And City and Chelsea are the evil bad ones. So
Bro, in our heyday, people didn't. In Arsenal's heyday in the Premier League, we wasn't looked at as good guys. You think Vieira and Tony Adams and Ian Wright these men weren't.
I don't mean like the good guys isn't like Superman, but like doing things the right way. Even though I'm really new, like I said, I think it's admirable what Arsene Wenger did, trying to make sure that the stadium was paid off beforehand, because now we're here and we don't have to worry about paying back a stadium. And in North America, owners are arguing with the fans about stadiums being built, and they want new stadiums and they want people to pay it with their tax dollars, and it's always a mess. So for something to be like that, all out of the way, and all you have to do is focus on what's on the pitch, I think that's really admirable.
Yeah, well, listen, thank you, Sakinos Prime. Thank you so much for your call and taking time. It's good to speak with you, man. Big up, man. Thank you.
Good to see you guys again. Have a good one.
Take care. Good versus evil. We'll do things admirable way. I hear. Do you know what? I'm gonna definitely push callers on that, because it is hard. Because would you have wanted a club that's bought it all and be successful, or do the way we've done it? It's been a lot of years where we haven't really been competitive, and we're slowly finding a way back. But it's interesting to hear what fans want, or what fans they would prefer, in which way the club should have moved. But Arsenal always has been a classy club in my eyes as well. I know Arsene Wenger as well was very big on that, and that's how I see it. But buying some trophies, I don't know. I would have enjoyed some moments, some of the darkest moments when we lost, Champions League finals and that, and Baku as well. There's little things that could have changed that would have been enjoyed. But we'll see. Anyway, let's see what the other callers have to say.
Next?
Pure 10, is he there? Hello, Pure 10.
Yes, how's it going? You right, boys?
Very good. Pure 10. Let me just give me that name. Where's that name? It's an interesting name. Are you an old school, like the old school 10s, or the new school?
It was my original. Oh, why do I keep going out of camera? There we go. It was originally I used to wear Addy Pures, and I just would only wear Addy Pures when I was younger, and it became my gamer tag, and then at uni it just became a bit of a joke nickname, and it's just just stuck a bit since then, man. Nice.
A Pure 10 and the Addy Pures, what a throwback. F50s, pluses and all them. Anyway, back in the day, the Adidas ones are my things. But anyway, all good. I like the retro boots and all that. But let's get into the conversation today. Pure 10, I'm sure you've been listening. Just kind of, where do you stand, on the conversation so far, and ask you some questions along the way.
Yeah, so it is really nuanced, and it is very difficult. I think in terms of FFP, I don't necessarily agree with everything Turkish is saying, because whilst maybe not all the biggest clubs, if you look at the likes of Pompey, QPR, Leeds, and I'm sure there's many more examples in the lower leagues, owners came in, bought clubs, brought in all these high wages, and then when it didn't work, left the club in a state. Now, I kind of get what Turkish is saying in terms of, well, that's on those clubs, right? But I think we were starting to see more foreign owners come into the Premier League, and with that, the reckless spending was starting to happen. And I think FFP came in to almost try and nip that in the bud a little bit. Whether it's been successful or not, I'd say no. Because if you look, other than Arsenal, when, again, similar to Turkish, I grew up being a massive Bergkamp Overmars fan. They were the two guys that really got me into loving watching football. And growing up as a teenager, being an Invincible, being able to be an Arsenal fan with my chest, it was amazing. And I think maybe we weren't the good guys, because we had a few. Maybe Pires was known for diving, Vieira was known for, but we were known for bringing in players like Vieira for $3.5 million, Nicolas Anelka for 500,000. So I think we were the good guys when it came to the financial side of things, because we didn't just go and buy Rio Ferdinand breaking records, or Andy Coles and things like that. We did bring in these unknown players from abroad who set the Premier League alight. Yeah. So I think we're kind of the good guys in that way, but I think I do agree with Turkish. There's probably a lot of people that hated us for our success and some of our players at the time. But if you look since Arsenal, other than Leicester, you've got Chelsea that have had a rich owner and got a rich owner, and you've had Man City that have dominated. The only two exceptions would be Leicester, which I think we can all agree was just a bit of a freak year. No disrespect to Leicester, but they only beat Tottenham to the title, so it wasn't that much. But I think the other team would be Liverpool, who I think are probably the most similar club to Arsenal, where we've both got great history. We can both attract players due to that history.
Yeah.
But maybe, Liverpool went through a period of not being very successful. I was going to ask you guys, do we need to do what Liverpool did with Coutinho? Do we need to sell a player now that we've got a Martinelli or a Saka? Do we sell them for 100+ million? And then maybe we're able to bring in, we're talking about players like Ivan Toney and maybe not being able to afford him.
Yeah.
That worries me. And realistically, we're not one position away. I think we are a few players away from being the squad that we really need to be. Like, I'm happy with where we are this season, but I wouldn't say I'm confident we're going to win the title with the players that we've got. So if we can't make that investment, do we need to sell an asset and maybe have that money to invest similar to how Liverpool did?
I don't know if I trust.
Potentially,
it's the trust for me though. Like,
you got to get it right though.
Yeah, that's it. That's
bringing 3 Kai Havertz.
But that exactly. This is it. This is it.
Right.
This is basically, it's the trust for me. Like, yeah, I loved what Liverpool did. They did the right thing in that, but you have to trust the club to you have to get it right, because we've seen a lot of our best players go in the past, and it just not worked. We haven't progressed. If anything, we've gone down. So I have PTSD of that. So I right now would say no. But yeah, like you said, like we just said, you have to get it right. Could get 3 Kai Havertzes and be in a worse position. So
we got our Van Dijk, our Alisson, and I can't remember who else it was, but they brought in Van Dijk and Alisson with the Coutinho money, and that they've obviously been pivotal in Liverpool's success. Now, I love the squad. There's no one I really want to sell. Maybe Thomas
Liverpool
Partey
fans love Coutinho.
Yeah,
True. True.
Yes, that's why I say don't get too connected to the players. That until the players win something.
We're Arsenal fans at the end of the day, not Martinelli or I love Martinelli and Jesus and these players while they play for Arsenal, but be all and end all is we want trophies.
Because on the flip,
we want to win again.
On the flip side, 5 years goes, Arsenal don't win a Premier League. What do you think Saka, Martinelli, and Saliba
they're
are
going
to
a club to get trophies?
So let's take it easy, man. Like, we've seen this before as well, so that's why I don't get too connected to the players. I love Saliba, Saka, Martinelli. I like Ben White a hell of a lot. I didn't think I'd say that 2 years ago, but if we do need to sell in order to get the final few pieces in, it needs to be done right. And if it's done right, like Liverpool, we win leagues and Champions Leagues. I don't care.
Sell them out the league, man. Get them out. Sell them out the Premier League so it doesn't strengthen another club. Use that money and strengthen us. If it's got to be done right. That's the only way I'd say.
I do think with the age profile and the quality of some of our players, it's probably inevitable at some point in the future. But again, I think the way that we're acting like a big club, we've got Saliba tied down. We've got all our young good players tied down. So at least, hopefully, with a few trophies, if it is 4 or 5 years, hopefully we'll be getting top money for them rather than paying people to end the contracts and having to, buy people out the club. Hopefully, we will be in a better position to reinvest. But I agree with you guys that ultimately we could get it wrong either way, though, right?
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, exactly.
Pure 10, just before you go, would you take City being stripped of their titles for Spurs to have won the 2016 Premier League title? Which means we would have won. Gone.
I'm similar to Turkish in this, so I want to win a league and I want to celebrate winning that league. I want to be there on the game where we secure it and Saka scores the winning goal. I want that moment. I've already had all the banter. I've been called a bottle job. All the group chats cussing me out for Arsenal losing the title.
Been there.
I can't really get those moments back, right? So even if I can go back now and be like, oh, well, we actually won it. No one's going to take it seriously. No one's going to be like, fair dues, Arsenal were the best team. Yeah. They're all just going to put that massive asterisk on it. And whereas Tottenham, I think they would be shameless and they would claim that as a trophy. And so for me, no, I'd rather, even the points deduction, it's kind of like in the City game when Kovacic didn't get sent off.
Yeah.
In hindsight, I'm glad he didn't, because you know what the narrative would have been? Oh, well, you only beat 10 men City.
True.
So in a way, even with the points deduction, whilst it'll make it a much more interesting league, and I think it gives us a better chance to win it, deep down, as an Arsenal fan that remembers the Invincibles, I want to see us go toe-to-toe with a full-strength City and beat that full-strength City, similar to the way that Liverpool did. So I think they deserve a points deduction, and I think that's the fairest thing for the game. But in terms of Arsenal, yeah, man, I want to see us beat the best. I don't want to see us win because of like a caveat.
Pure 10, thank you so much. Been a great caller, mate. I hope to see you again soon on FANZONE. Big up, man.
Oh, perfect. Nice one, boys. Have a good time.
Great example would be, look, Barcelona accused of paying referees. Let's just say it comes out tomorrow that the referee in the Champions League final was paid off. And Barcelona, do you think I'm going to take that Champions League? I'm not going to take it. And that's something that I crave, I need.
Yes, same.
But I'm not going to take it like that, man.
It wouldn't feel...
You got to feel it. If you don't feel it, did it even happen?
It's an interesting one. All right. Let's get Emmanuel on. Hey, Emmanuel.
Hi, Cecil. Hi, Turkish.
How are you?
I'm good. I'm all right. First time on AFTV FANZONE. Just to say thank you guys. You guys are doing a good job.
Welcome. Thank you.
Yeah, can't thank you guys enough. First, two things.
Go.
The first one would be, this would be to Turkish. Turkish, if you take your mind back to a number of years when...
I feel like you're going to be told off.
Yeah, no, I'm not going to tell Turkish. He's been fantastic. If you take your mind back to a number of years ago, the Wenger era, when we're like, buy, no money to spend. We must buy, we must do this. You're always talking about spend. This is the consequence of spending.
What is?
The consequence, as in this FFP thing we're talking about.
But what is the consequence?
I mean, what's the consequence?
Yeah, what's the consequence?
Probably being investigated.
No, but
I know what you're...
What's the consequence?
Yeah, the consequence, Everton.
We didn't win it. Yeah.
And then the fact that City and Chelsea, they're going to go down.
That's an assumption.
It's an assumption that it's a reasonable assumption. It's a fairly reasonable assumption. Now, do I want City to go down? I don't want them to go down because I want Arsenal to actually win the league while City and Chelsea are in the league. Because if they go down, it takes a kind of two big clubs away from the Premier League. There's no doubt about that. But as far as the law is concerned, if they do something against the law, they should be punished. Whether that means going down to League 1 or League 2, so be it. That's one. The second thing is, in terms of the trophy thing. So if they found out that City breached the rules in that time frame where they won those leagues, they should be stripped of the title. They should be. That's the ideal thing to do. That's one. And then... Sorry,
but the argument is it doesn't go to the next team.
It should go, but it should go to the next team. That's how it's meant to be.
Yeah, but
it should go to the team. So the title City won when Liverpool went toe to toe with them. That title should be stripped off City if they are found guilty.
So would you celebrate? Say if they got stripped of their titles and we had won last year, and Liverpool they got theirs. Would you be proud as an Arsenal fan? Say, yeah, we've won in the last. Would you take it and celebrate it, or do you?
I will take it, but I will not celebrate it.
Because I think it's pointless. At this point, I think it's pointless. I think voiding it, I get it, but I think giving it to the next. I think we've kind of in this conversation here. I fully agree with you have to live it and be there and enjoy. It feels empty. So I understand them getting it taken away, but I think City fans will still argue, no, we want it that year. They won't care about this. I think it can be seen on the boards as void or asterisks. But yeah, I don't know. I just feel like giving it to the next team would take it, but it's not like it's something you can be proud of. You didn't really live it.
Yeah, the reason that's one. If you remember, maybe sometime in 2019 or 2020, when Wenger, I can't remember the interview when he said, City are taking all our players. He mentioned that. He was talking about FFPs at that time. So these guys knew that at some point we will not be able to compete. That's why we were unable to compete with the likes of City and Chelsea. When Roman came in, when Abramovich came in, he was buying everybody left, right, and center, just like Todd Bowley was doing now.
So you're happy. So are you happy with fan with how Arsenal conduct themselves? You want us to stay like this. You wouldn't want us to buy anything. You're happy with how we're running. It's 20 years since we last won a title. You would rather that than have someone rich come in and we could have bought some players and got it over the line a few years back.
I'm quite happy with the way the finances of Arsenal is being managed, at least just now. I mean, there's nothing to the contrary until we start hearing things. Do I think this will end with City, Chelsea, and...
Sorry, can I cut in? We've been making a loss year on year since 2019.
We're accountants now, isn't it?
I just know this. I know this.
Yeah.
Like, we've been making a loss year on year. David Raya's agents come out recently and said the reason we can't sign Raya in the summer is because we're on the line of FFP.
That's true. That's why he's on loan.
Why are we happy with the way we've controlled our finances?
No, but then if we're making a loss, we're not making a loss to the extent. I think the cut-off is about
110 million or something.
110 million or something. So we are not there yet. So at some point we will recover. We will start making profit at some point. There's no doubt about that. You have to. I mean, it's part of our investment. We have to make those monies back versus us spending recklessly. There's no doubt about that. We will have to make those monies back at some point. So basically that's what I would say.
Okay. Just quickly, sorry to cut into you then again, apologies. Just so, would you say if the titles were taken because of FFP for Chelsea, and would you rather Tottenham win the 2016 that Premier League title, are you as a fan, and we get the last year one, or not at all, or have none at all, so it just carries on?
No, it's if they give it to, if Tottenham have won that, then fantastic, they take it. I don't care.
Wow. And
I don't really care. You have to be fair. If you make the laws, everybody has to abide by it. If it means giving them the title that they deserve at that point in time, so be it. Give us what we want. Give us what we deserve.
Wow.
I'm saying this because there's some we cannot take away corruption. There's corruption in football. Corruption is so deep down. It just, what plays in my mind is when Arsenal played, I think Barcelona or something, when Van Persie was given two red cards for picking the ball out. It was very clear that they wanted Arsenal to lose. So these things are ongoing right now as we speak. They are holding countless number of meetings. Just to conclude, what I'm thinking is now, I'm thinking that 10-point deduction to Everton will be looked at. They will have a second look, and then they are going to take some points out of it, and then they'll come to a middle ground. That's what I think. And I also think City and Chelsea will not be sent down to League One or League Two. It will not be good for a Premiership.
Okay, thank you so much for your time, man. Big up, man.
Nice one, Emmanuel.
No worries. Thanks, guys. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Take care, brother.
I want to discuss that at some point, but I might have a bit of time before we get the last caller in. It's interesting, isn't it? It's a tough one, that one, because he wants everything done right. I just don't feel like there's so much disruption.
What's right? We don't know the rules.
That's what I'm saying.
That's why
it's so
everyone's
hard.
Assuming City broke the rules, but if I ask everyone what rules, people don't know.
No, yeah, and I think we haven't by the book done anything wrong, but I just think all clubs there's murky lines.
Are City acting like they've broken rules? No, they've just posted record profit. If you're a club or an owner that feels that you're under investigation for something that you're going to be found guilty in, you're going to try and go as much under the radar as possible. They've just posted the record amount of profits that you've ever seen. That's like saying, here you go, have that. They're pretty confident. That tells me they're pretty confident to get by whatever rules they've seemingly bent or broken. They're confident about it. So like I said, I'd rather be happily surprised than bitterly disappointed. So for me, nothing's going to happen to them. Nothing major.
Okay. Let me get the last caller in. Kian, are you there? Hello.
I am.
Hello.
How are you?
Yes. What are you saying, Kian?
Well, it's a great topic.
It is. It's a bit of a heavy one, but it's not even that too heavy. But it's a nice conversation to delve into. So let's hear your thoughts.
Well, I'm on the side of Turkish. I think City aren't going to get much of a punishment. I think realistically, what you're talking about, stripping the titles, I don't think it's worth stripping the titles off them. at the end of the day, in fairness, every fan's gone through the heartache of losing. Like, I've spoken to Liverpool fans, like my brother's a Liverpool fan, and he agrees with me. He doesn't see the point in them getting titles, so really, because they've gone through the emotion of losing that title. City kind of earned those titles through the players and that. But if you want, realistically, the best punishment for the club is exactly like what happened with Juventus. You relegate them. You relegate them to 2 or 3 divisions. And
do you think that will happen?
I don't think so. Yeah, I think because
I don't either, but
how big City are,
right,
how big of a club they are, they'll probably get a slap on the wrist and say, look, you can't do this. If the FA and that want to sort this proper, they need to bring up a fine line, because if City don't get punished really hard, it encourages other teams like Newcastle now, who've got owners that literally have unempty pockets. They can pay as much as they want. The worst you can get is a slap on the wrist like Man City did. So realistically, the FA need to look at this and say, look, this is something that down the line we could have several clubs involved in this. Now, don't get me wrong, there are clubs that every club has an issue of breaking rules or doing something. Like, no one's the fine line, but it's to the point now where you need to come up with, okay, if Everton are getting a 10-point deduction for breaking FFP, and Man City now have 115 charges rather than Everton's 1, what do we do here for Man City's 115 charges here? Yeah. Like, you need to figure out.
Yeah.
Yeah. And this is where I think best case possible, we don't know what the repercussions of what kind of rules they've broken in detail, what the consequence of each rule break equivalates to. But realistically, the best thing you could do is say, look, we're going to relegate you 2 or 3 divisions, and you start from there, and that's the way to do it. And then that way it tells clubs like Newcastle and that, look, this is the repercussions if you break the rules, and it to an extent.
100%.
Yeah.
I think 100%. I'm going to ask you this, Turks. What do you think will happen? You said a slap on the wrist. What do you actually think for Chelsea and Man City? Because you make a very good point that what they've done with Everton now, they have to show an example of Chelsea or City, because they're obviously under investigation, unless they get the all clear, but it might be unlikely. What do you generally think will happen to both those clubs? Do you think it will be, because you said you don't think they'll get relegated, you think it'll be a slap on the wrist, but what does that entail? Is that a points deduction? Is that a ban?
I could say maybe transfer ban, maybe for a season or 2, or maybe a small points reduction like what Everton did, but I don't see them getting something real hefty.
Yeah.
And some people said it to me as well, like the other thing they could bet is they could get like a 200 million fine or something like that, but to Man City that's nothing. And
probably.
That's probably
and you think that because of the Premier League and the FA, right? Now, we all call Serie A corrupt, yeah? Serie A relegated Juventus, and Juventus are a much bigger and greater club than Man City. They didn't care about TV. They didn't care about how
that's it. Like, Juventus are the Man City of the Serie A. Like, they're a massive club in the Serie A, and they got relegated.
So if City don't get punished, I'm not going to cry and moan about it. I'm going to say, Kroenke, go cook the books as well. Go find a random business wherever with 10 followers on Twitter and tell people that they injected 5 billion into this club. I don't care. I'm not going to cry about it, because we know the FA has also got some, aspects of corruption there, and they love a bit of money themselves, so it's not an excuse when I say Man City are big, they're not going to be relegated. It's not an excuse. It's because I know the FA and what they want for the league, and that's money.
Yeah.
Like, you look at the way kind of our clubs run at the moment. Yeah, we're making negatives, but you look at the positives we've done. We've gotten rid of all the high-waged players. Like, we got rid of Aubameyang when he was on a ridiculous wage. We got rid of Ozil when he was on a ridiculous wage. We've cut that down a huge, hefty chunk than what we were paying. You look at the likes of United, who are paying Jadon Sancho
crazy money,
crazy money to literally sit in train with the reserves or train on his own. And the good thing with us is we've gotten rid of that negative margin that we'd be making from those, and we've got rid of a lot of the fringe players. Man City are paying left, right, and centre. Like I think someone linked. I think there was a leak. I think it was Kevin De Bruyne's salary which was ridiculous. He was getting paid crazy bonuses for next to nothing and stuff like that. Like there is something wrong there, and it needs to be punished. But my worry is it's not going to be punished.
Yeah.
My worry is that's not even my worry. I just think City's owners were smart enough to bend the rules and trick the system, because it's not like they, you know, for me, like I said before about their transfers, they never exceeded spending 60 mil, 65 mil until a Grealish. Like they slowly but surely, Joe, Alano, Adebayo, then Robinho comes in. That's a level raiser. Then after Robinho, I think that's when the ownership started changing from, I forgot who it was before, an Asian guy, to the Sheikh. And then slowly but surely they built, and then to a point where they are now, they brought in the director from Barcelona before bringing in Pep. So when you also look at the way they've built it, forget everything else for a sec. When you look at the way they've built it, they've seemingly done it in the right manner. Yeah. Slowly but surely, and now they're at a point where they're dominating. Everyone else is kicking up a fuss.
But they would have made the most money off the back of.
And then you look at Chelsea. Then Chelsea are another example under Todd Bowley. Like he found a flaw in the system that if you offer these players 7.5-year, 8-year contracts, you basically can get under the FFP thing and you can pay it over time. And that's the way. That's how he found his way around paying for these players.
Yeah, and now let's just say, because he found a loophole and that loophole's been closed now. How's that fair? Yeah. How's that fair that Chelsea got to take advantage of that loophole, and 6 to 12 months after taking advantage of it by spending $1 billion and bringing in all these talented youngsters, no one else can exploit that loophole? Now, there's an argument there that the rule changing and the loophole closing is unfair on other teams like an Arsenal or like a Tottenham or a Liverpool. So we can all, every single thing has an argument for and against. So I don't know, man. I just think the implementation of FFP is where this all started going pear-shaped. And that's on them, the FA.
Right.
Yeah.
Well,
Kian, love, man.
Kian, man, sorry, not sorry. Thank you for coming on and having your say, man. And big up for your contributions. Always a pleasure.
My Irish brother, come on.
Yeah, big up, man.
Cheers, man.
Cheers. Take care. I do want to have some closing thoughts on this live, because it's a good conversation. It's a good topic. It's opened my eyes a lot, because I didn't come into this live and this discussion thinking FFP was going to be the problem, and I'm not saying it is, because I actually think it's the right idea, and what they're trying to do is right. And it's funny enough, the only thing that keeps going through my mind is the same with VAR. I don't think VAR is the problem, but it's just not implemented right. I think with FFP, I think it's the same sort of thing. They are getting it wrong, I believe, right now, because they got brought in for a certain reason to level the playing field, but it's still not level. But like, again, I think the idea is right. It's just not being implemented properly. And it's still murky waters, I think, with all clubs. I'm confused about how they're going to be punished. I still haven't come to a conclusion, because like you said there, Everton getting 10 points for one count. What does that mean for City?
Forget thinking about it, man.
It's not going to...
Like I said, it's better to be happily surprised than bitterly disappointed.
I hear you.
Like, what conclusion are you going to come to? They will come to a conclusion and we will react to their conclusion. What are we thinking about? We don't even know the rules, number one.
Yeah, sure.
To even know what rules they've broken, number two. To even know the penalty for these rules broken, number three. So what are we all, what's the whole hype about? Put the pressure on the FA to get it done.
That's what it should be.
Put the pressure on the FA to get Everton's last sentence, pressure on the FA. If Arsenal and Man United and Liverpool have a big problem with it, fucking go right in or do something. If Man United, Arsenal and Liverpool are English football heritage, if those three clubs got together and said, hey, what the fuck's been going on with City and Chelsea over the last 10 years, 15 years, 20 years, whatever it is. Because I'm not saying I know the rules or what I don't know anything. But if Man United, Liverpool and Arsenal got together, the three heritage clubs in this country, and demanded some action or demanded a conclusion to this investigation that's been dragging on for years now, essentially, or over, whatever it is, then they will have to do something. But why don't Arsenal, Man United or Liverpool say anything about it? Why? That's why I'm even weary to say they're breaking rules, because if the clubs that deal with these rules and know these rules are not even, saying what the fuck's going on, then who are we to say anything?
Are they doing that because they think they might have skeletons in their closet, or you just think they're just too scared to take on the.
I doubt Arsenal got skeletons in our closet, bro. Flipping hell, the way we've been tight over the last 20 with this ownership, obviously recently it's changed, but I don't think we've got skeletons. Maybe with Pepe and that whole Raul Sanlei thing.
Yeah, fair.
Fucking, let's pull out the skeletons.
Well, I hear that, but also there is a problem in the sense Turkish as well, because you said it, like, if the punishment's not right, if it is a slap on the wrist, you as a fan just said, I won't be telling Kroenke, go and do it. If you're going to
do it. I'm not going to cry and moan about wow, the FA are corrupt.
No, yeah.
Is that breaking news? It's not fucking breaking news. We know this now. Yeah. We know this now. So no one should act like they're surprised by a decision that goes against what we believed or thought would have been reasonable with no knowledge whatsoever, bear in mind. Yeah. We ain't got the knowledge to know. They know we ain't got the knowledge to know. They will twist it however they want to twist it. I'm sure that they're not going to... Listen, Juventus were done for match fixing, so we can't use Juventus as an example. Match fixing is completely different to what Man City are being charged with and what Chelsea are being charged with. And
which we don't even know the full extent.
Man City's charges are different to Chelsea's charges. Chelsea's charges relate to like transfer ban and I forgot what else it was, but Man City's is a bit different. They might all fall under financial sustainability, but they're different cases, Man City and Chelsea. We can't really use Juventus because it's completely different. Yeah, I just use Juventus as an example of the Italian FA not giving a shit about how big the club is. They gave the punishment necessary. Will FA do the same? I doubt it. But I'm not going to worry about it. I'm not going to worry about it. City are favourites this year. You think I'm hoping that they get 10-point deduction and I'm resting my hopes on a Premier League title on that? I'm not. I'm hoping Arsenal compete, go toe to toe and do it.
Okay, last thing before we close off. What do you think will be done? I know you said not thinking about you want to be pleasantly surprised or whatever, but what do you think will be? Because I like Kian said their transfer ban. I don't think that even solves. So that doesn't stop City, I don't think, still achieving things. But
I get him. That's the easy thing to say, and that's probably what I'd say, transfer ban, because I just, surely they get that. If it's just one window even, surely they get that. So,
that's not, anyway.
Aside from that, I can't tell you, mate. I can't tell you.
Interesting. Well, listen, that was a conversation for today on the fans. And big up everyone that got involved. Apologies to the people that didn't get on, but again, we're here pretty much twice a week, so to have an open conversation about what is being spoken about. So make sure you come and join us. All you got to do is download the AFTV Plus app. Very simple. I've really enjoyed this. It's nice to understand the situation to the best of your ability and conversate with fellow fans. So make sure you do that. If you want to get what I'm wearing right now, the AFTV merch, make sure you head over to shop.aftv.co.uk, and also on the app as well. It's not just FANZONE, there's many other things. There's articles, there's player predictors, and your 11 selectors. So make sure you go and do that. And I do want to wrap up by saying big up you guys on the We Come in Peace video. I absolutely loved it. Go and check that out if you haven't already. Chaos, but controlled chaos and very good topical debate. So go and check that out. That's on the channel as well. I'll see you guys again very soon. Take care. Peace.
Love.